I'm okay. Kind of a little nervous.
Davina Resto is on a mission.
But I'm prepared. I'm feeling prepared.
She and producer Ezequiel Rodriguez Andino met up in Brooklyn on a rainy Monday in June 2025 to take the subway to Manhattan together.
Okay, you look prepared.
That's good.
That's important,
yeah,
right?
I think that's the most important thing, right?
Davina is scheduled to address the United Nations today, specifically the UN's Special Committee on Decolonization. She's one of 61 people who are all coming to the UN to speak about Puerto Rico. It's rush hour, and it'll take Davina around 40 minutes to get there. Not too bad. Some people have to travel for days to get to the UN. If you're coming from Puerto Rico, it's a 4-hour flight.
I mean, it's exciting. It's almost an honor, because this is supposed to be the stage where the people are heard.
You caught that, right? It's supposed to be the stage. There was a time when Davina would have been excited about what's happening today. She studied diplomacy and foreign relations. It was once her dream to make it to the UN.
But it doesn't take that fast to get radicalized, you know? Once you're awoken, you know, you're like, oh my gosh.
Davina is with a group called Adolfina, a Puerto Rican women's organization.
You know, I feel like we almost weren't going to do this.
Like a lot of us, she's seen how major institutions, like the UN, can let people down.
And so you look at things, though, going on in Palestine currently, where the UN has constantly just failed them. Year after year, veto after veto. You want to be proud and you want to be happy that you're like making this grand speech at the UN, but I feel just too disappointed, you know, and realize that this is just yet another tool of failure of the empire.
When it comes to Puerto Rico, the disappointment is a long time coming. Since 1972, this committee has issued more than 40 resolutions urging the U.S. to decolonize Puerto Rico. Year after year, with a few exceptions, there's a summer day when the committee considers testimony, and, well, not much has changed. This year, every speaker, they're called petitioners in UN parlance, will have just 3 minutes to say their piece about the effects of colonization in Puerto Rico. 3 minutes. So it's not a great platform, but it's still a platform, and people have been coming for decades to use it and to fight for Puerto Rico here.
This is a moment to have our voices heard, so yeah, but I will say my mom is very happy. My mom is very proud.
Davina and the other participants had to submit an application with a passport-style photo, identifying details and a description of their organization.
It's hard to say things that everyone said every year.
This is going to be Davina's first time speaking here, but she's watched the live stream of the speeches before, so she has a sense of how it goes.
How do you say something new without just going in circles every year? And that's what it feels like at these conferences. It feels like, you know, just the same thing.
Even after this UN Decolonization Committee hears all the speakers, it seems unlikely that the UN's General Assembly will take up the issue of Puerto Rico. On this day in June, the U.S. doesn't even have a UN ambassador. But even when they have one, that person never comes. And knowing all that, Davina and other participants show up with a sense of ambivalence.
I don't think I should be asking my captors for freedom, right? And that's what it feels like.
But the people who signed up to speak are still taking on the task of representing Puerto Rico with conviction. And not only that, but in recent years, this day at the UN has felt, and probably, even more intense. New petitioners have started championing a competing future for Puerto Rico, statehood. The process has become adversarial between groups of people with very different visions, even while it feels increasingly like a dead end.
Oh, this is 42nd. I think this is us.
Yeah, 42nd.
Yes, perfect.
So today, we're going to the United Nations to find out why everyone else is still going. From Futuro Studios, I'm Alana Casanova Burgess, and this is La Brega. In this episode, 3 minutes for Puerto Rico. Season 3 of La Brega was made possible by the Mellon Foundation, which seeks to build just communities enriched by meaning and empowered by critical thinking, where ideas and imagination can thrive. Hi there. I wanted to draw your attention to a huge deal that Rosetta Stone is offering listeners of La Brega. It's not only that it's a lifetime membership to their language learning courses. On top of that, they're offering 50% off. 50. Ready to start learning a new language this spring? Visit rosettastone.com/labrega today to explore Rosetta Stone and choose the language that's right for you. Go to rosettastone.com/labrega now and begin your language learning journey. The full name of the Decolonization Committee, and I swear this is true, is the Special Committee on the Situation with regard to the implementation of the Declaration on the Granting of Independence to Colonial Countries and Peoples, or C-24 for short. There is, as that title suggests, a lot of protocol at the UN. It's apparent right away. In the line to get through security, Jerry Segarra of the Nationalist Party of Puerto Rico was telling me why he's been coming for over a decade.
11 años viniendo, sí.
This is the drop of water, he says, that falls on the stone. Sooner or later, it'll break it.
Como la gota que cae sobre la piedra. Tarde o temprano, romperá la piedra.
And then, right as I was registering the poetry of the metaphor, a security guard stopped me.
Are you taking him on an interview right here?
Yeah. Oh, no.
No, you're not supposed to do that,
okay,
you know?
I'm sorry.
Can you please put
this away.
everything in your bag and go move
There's
it?
a time and a place, and apparently we weren't there yet. Meanwhile, Ese was with Davina.
And I feel like I'm going through the airport.
Davina's speech is going to be about the effect of colonialism on women in Puerto Rico. That's one of the most valuable parts of coming here, to enter something specific into the public record at the United Nations, something that might otherwise not be talked about. Her draft started out at 5 minutes. She's got it down to 3, and she's been practicing and pumping herself up.
I brought heels. I was like, the heels make me feel empowered.
That's important.
I think that if I just have them.
She ran into some other petitioners she knew, who were also coming to speak in favor of independence.
I was a little nervous, but I'm feeling more empowered now that I'm with my people,
There's a high school reunion energy to the sessions. People fly in from all over the states and from Puerto Rico. Who's going to show up this time? Who might you run into? And who do you hope doesn't come? The veterans already know the drill, and the first-timers are calming their nerves. Everyone is making their way to Conference Room 1.
Special Committee of 24, the 8th plenary meeting.
It looks a lot like what you picture when you think of the UN. Curved rows of seats arranged in tiers, all facing the front of the room like a grand diplomatic amphitheater. But up close, the room looks shabby. The brown vinyl chairs are all torn up. You get the sense, immediately, that the UN has seen better days. Puerto Rico's history has been entwined with this body and its rules since before this UN building even existed.
Here in the midst of war, the world's people collaborated in the drafting of a workable international constitution.
Formed in the shadow of the Second World War, the UN has always frowned on nations ruling over others. In 1946, for its very first session, the UN put together a list of non-self-governing territories. Their governing countries would have to submit yearly reports on the progress towards self-governance for these places. For the U.S., that included Puerto Rico, Guam, American Samoa, and the U.S. Virgin Islands. And there was, frankly, a lot to report. The U.S. bombed the town of Jayuya in 1950, for example, to quell a nationalist uprising there. The UN, however, didn't respond. Then, in 1953, the U.S. made a big claim. Puerto Rico had adopted a new constitution and created a new status, Estado Libre Asociado, a free associated state. So the U.S. said that Puerto Rico had been decolonized, and the UN could take it off the list of colonies. Other countries pushed back, like India's representatives said that, quote, Puerto Rico is definitely not a territory which has attained independence, nor is it separate in identity. She also said that Puerto Rico's status is, quote, inferior to that of a state of the Union. But it didn't matter. Puerto Rico was taken off the list, meaning it was considered decolonized, even though Puerto Rico remained a literal colony of the U.S. in all but name. The next big step happened in 1960, when the UN stated that colonization was a violation of human rights by passing the Declaration on the Granting of Independence to Colonial Countries and Peoples. That mouthful is called Resolution 1514, and it's become an important shorthand.
Resolution 1514.
UN Resolution 1514.
Resolution 1514.
La resolución 1514 en el caso colonial particular de Puerto Rico.
But Puerto Rico wouldn't be an official part of the conversation about decolonization until the 1970s. Then, after years of trying, pro-independence activists, with the help of Cuba, finally got the committee to start passing resolutions supporting self-determination and independence. In just a few years, it had become a ritual. It was mostly pro-independence activists making the pilgrimage, and once in a while, pro-statehood voices and even defenders of the current status would go to the UN and ask the committee to advocate for the U.S. granting more powers to Puerto Rico. But even as speakers have understood that it was important to show up and participate, there was already a sense that these meetings wouldn't go anywhere, because the U.S. wouldn't actually respond to any pressure. Even newspaper editorials in smaller markets reflected how common this takeaway was.
If the committee decides Puerto Rico is, in fact, a colony, the edict can be expected to have little effect. The United States anticipates widespread support in the Security Council and the General Assembly if the issue ever gets that far. The Indianapolis News editorial, August 30th, 1978.
In the summer of 1978, there were 4 days of intense testimony, and Governor Carlos Romero Barceló, who pushed for statehood, showed up and spoke to both boos and applause.
Political passions flared at the UN Decolonization Committee as the governor of Puerto Rico told the panel that his island's politics were none of its business, and the Cuban ambassador denounced him as a Yankee. The Miami Herald, August 30th, 1978.
The committee ended up deciding that, yes, Puerto Rico is a colony. But as expected, the issue didn't get any further than that. And 50 years later, it still hasn't. The ritual continues. Petitioners get their allotted time, which has shrunk down to 3 minutes. The committee issues a declaration in support of decolonization and independence. The U.S. ignores it, the General Assembly doesn't take it up for a vote, and then the committee does it all over again the following year. And although statehood advocates have been here before, this has historically been the turf of the pro-independence movement. But that's been changing.
Puerto Rico es una colonia.
In 2016, then gubernatorial candidate Ricardo Rosselló showed up, advocating for statehood. And there's been more and more pro-statehood advocates showing up to make the case that becoming a state is also a way to decolonize Puerto Rico. Then, Governor Rosselló ended up resigning in disgrace in 2019 after a protest movement forced him out of office. But he's here today too, actually.
I now invite Mr. Ricardo Rosselló.
And so is his wife, Beatriz, and several other statehood advocates. Many of them are members of what they call the Extended Congressional Delegation for Puerto Rican Statehood.
El foro siempre lo creamos nosotros, y nosotros ¿verdad? Entendemos de que en Washington no hay ambiente.
Vivian Rivera Moreno is with the Rhode Island chapter. The group has been focusing their efforts on Congress, without much luck. Republicans are in control now, and they have not been receptive to Puerto Rico becoming the 51st state.
Y sin embargo, los republicanos pues han dicho que no.
So they've turned their attention to the UN. This is Vivian's third time here.
Creo que es vergonzoso que Estados Unidos mantenga una colonia. Y por eso estoy aquí, porque yo...
It's shameful, she says, that the U.S., which she calls the cradle of democracy, should keep Puerto Rico in this position, as a colony.
Esta es la cuna de la democracia, Estados Unidos, pero esto es una vergüenza lo que nos están haciendo.
She tells me several of her group have a nickname.
Entonces, nos estaban llamando las damas de la estadidad.
The statehood ladies.
Pero somos muchas las que tenemos este blazer. Sí, lo único que yo fui la que decidí traerlo hoy.
And Vivian definitely looks the part. She's wearing a blue quilted blazer with white stars on it. Several of them own the same one, but only Vivian wore hers today. She and the other statehood advocates have made this long trip and prepared and practiced their 3-minute-long speeches. And yet, she doesn't expect Puerto Rico's status to change as a result of what happens here today.
Sí, sería un plus, ¿verdad? Algo positivo que sucediera eso, pero para mí es irrelevante.
La Nacional Unida contra qué, tú sabes.
Rafael Olivera Cintrón is 25. He came from Orlando to speak in favor of independence. He's wearing a suit and something that seems a bit out of place here, a pava, a traditional straw hat.
¿Y llegaste con la pava?
Y sí, yo llegué con la pava. Yo creo que, no sé si el primer año, es posible que, déjame pensar.
It's also his third year. The first 2 felt energizing, but now he's wondering what the point is.
Porque han sido como 40 resoluciones, pues ¿cuál es el punto?
The thing is, he recognizes that you can't not come and speak at the United Nations. But he's frustrated by how little progress there's been from this body.
Tenemos que presentarnos, tenemos que venir siempre, pero a la misma vez ellos tienen que entender que estamos como que, ¿por qué? ¿Cuál es el problema? Tú sabes, ya lo han dicho, ¿por qué no hacen algo?
So there's agreement that not much will come of today's session. But even so, before things get started, there's drama. Here's what happened. Rafael heard 2 women nearby talking loudly, he says, about logistics.
I'm giving you like all the tea, you know, like, for example, I was like maybe like a few steps down, just like minding my own business.
He asked them what they were talking about. He thought it was something pertinent.
And they were like, this is between us. And I was like, oh, well, my bad, you know, like, my bad. Like, you sounded pretty loud to me. Like, I thought you guys were talking in general.
Then there was a back and forth.
And at some point I was just like, listen. We're not gonna like do this. This is just the beginning. Like, I don't want to do this with you guys.
It's like, it's serious because it's colonization, but it feels like a football game. You guys are on different teams and you don't want to let each other know what the strategy is.
It's exactly like a football game. And it just doesn't make any sense because the reality is that we're gonna end up being neighbors anyways. It's not like we're not gonna have to solve problems together. But I also feel like it's because the independence movement itself is really stuck in this like dichotomy and doesn't just transition straight into manifesting and building Puerto Rican society. And so like, let's stop the nonsense, you know?
Zoraida Vélez Beniquez is from the Florida chapter of the statehood delegation, and she also feels the tension in the room.
No importa en el foro que estemos, no importa la diferencia de opinión, creemos que como seres humanos debemos respetarnos.
She wants both sides to respect each other. Each side is here to share their opinion and defend their preferred status.
Ustedes tienen su opinión, yo tengo mi opinión. Ustedes defienden su estatus, nosotros defendemos nuestro estatus.
But she's heard someone from the pro-independence side call the statehood advocates vendepatrias.
Compatriotas llamándonos vendepatria porque nosotros
sellouts or turncoats, traitors. She's upset. She wants her side to be heard too. She says that's why they came here, because pro-independence advocates have been using this space unchallenged.
Nosotros vinimos aquí porque ya está bueno que los espacios estén llenos por los independentistas y no nos hayan dado espacio a los estadistas.
And Zoraida wants to make sure that the committee knows there's another opinion about Puerto Rico's future. She's worried that they're paying more attention to independence advocates, who she says aren't being respectful.
Ellos siguen escuchando a los independentistas que no respetan a sus hermanos compatriotas.
And yet, there are people from Puerto Rico and the states here advocating for both sides. And ironically, neither side really thinks the UN has any power over Puerto Rico's destiny. But still, historically, this has been a space where issues that matter get airtime. When the protest movement to get the U.S. Navy out of Vieques was in full swing, speakers would enter that into the record at the UN. Before the political prisoner Oscar López Rivera was freed, many petitioners, regardless of their politics, used their time in 2016 to urge the UN to urge the U.S. to release him. Then, the following year, just a few months after leaving prison, he came to speak for 20 minutes.
In spite of all the horrible things done to me during the years I spent in prison, I have come home with my head high and my honor, my dignity, and my spirit stronger than the day I was sent to prison.
Good morning. I invite you to take your seats, please.
Manissa Rambali of St. Lucia is the chair of the committee. The draft resolution under consideration today is from the previous year. That's the protocol. So there's a sense that the whole process is stuck in time, always a year behind.
20th June 2024, concerning Puerto Rico, hearing of petitioners.
One by one, the 61 petitioners will have their microphones turned on so they can have their 3 minutes to comment. There's a countdown clock on the screens at the front of the room, and a red light on each mic will start flashing when there's 1 minute left.
Once a speaker reaches the end of the 3 minutes, the sound on your microphone will be cut off.
There's a lot of pressure. There's live translation too, so you can't speak too fast to beat the clock. No banners, no flags.
Please do respect decorum, as this is a meeting of the United Nations.
Coming up, what do you say about 125 years in just 3 minutes? This is La Brega. Hi, listeners. Alana here. There's something about spring that feels like a reset. Longer days, fresh energy, and the motivation to try something new. Learning a language is the perfect way to channel that momentum into a skill that opens up the world. Lately, I've been getting really tired of the apps on my phone. I'm tired of doom scrolling. I'm tired of wasting hours that don't enrich my life. But there's actually an app that energizes me and helps me learn something important. And that's Rosetta Stone, because I'm learning a new language. I'm trying out French, and I can feel my progress every day. My brain feels alive and not, tired or fatigué, as the French would say. It's super easy to fit it into my daily routine and helps me cut down on phone habits that don't feel so good. So if you've been telling yourself for a while, wow, I really want to work on my Spanish, consider this your invitation to stop scrolling and start learning. So, ready to start learning a new language this spring? Visit rosettastone.com/labrega today to explore Rosetta Stone and choose the language that's right for you. Go to rosettastone.com/labrega now and begin your language learning journey. The La Brega crew has been asked to sit in a chairless balcony box like we're at the opera. That's protocol for press. The committee members sit up at the front of the room with the names of their countries on their desks, at least the ones who show up. Cuba is here today, so is Spain, Ecuador, Germany, Algeria, Russia, Venezuela, and a handful of others. And again, no one from the United States. The petitioners are behind them, seated in the order that they're speaking, which is in the order they signed up in. as long as they're speaking about Puerto Rico, they can use the 3 minutes however they want. They can even rhyme.
They call us a territory, but we're a colonized nation, subjected to their greed and exploitation.
The chair goes down the row, recognizing the speakers in order. There aren't a lot of surprises. Well, maybe one, to me.
By the grace of Almighty God, we will make Puerto Rico Spain again.
There are 4 people here pushing for Puerto Rico to be a Spanish colony.
It's time to do the right thing. Return Puerto Rico to Spain.
Y que viva la isla de Puerto Rico española. Ole.
Spain aside, as we listened from our opera balcony, it was challenging to tell where someone stood just by dipping into their prepared remarks. Both sides, for example, are frustrated by what seems like the futility of this exercise.
There is sometimes a sense of predictability of what occurs in these halls. There's a predictability of language. There's a predictability of outcomes.
This is my second time addressing this committee, and while I thank you for the time, I ask for your forgiveness because I stand before you with no faith in this process.
Both sides use some of the same words, like dignity, democracy, justice. After the first couple dozen of these short speeches, it starts to feel like a C.
Sin descolonización no hay dignidad, ni paz, ni verdadera democracia.
We ask for fairness. We ask for dignity. We ask for democracy.
We demand justice.
I'm here to demand justice.
Es una injusticia que continuemos con el mismo estatus colonial.
Both sides also denounce the Fiscal Control Board.
An unelected Fiscal Control Board overrides our democratic institutions.
A fiscal control board that governs without the consent of the people. Let me say it clear, this is not democracy.
But they have very different visions for getting rid of it. Even though the petitioners are divided by their opinion on status, there's a shared sense of urgency here.
The United States calls us territory, but we are a nation.
Voices are raised and rushed. This is, for many of them, the biggest platform they will ever get to speak on behalf of Puerto Rico.
I thank the petitioner. While I would like to give you your time, I invite for the need for decorum.
But this is the UN, and the urgency of the moment keeps coming up against the rules of this body.
Free Puerto Rico and Palestine now. Thank you.
I thank the petitioner, and I kindly request and remind petitioners to limit their statements to issues pertaining to the territory under consideration.
The pro-independence advocates speak on a variety of issues facing Puerto Rico today. This is, after all, the moment to put something on the record for your area of expertise. There are petitioners who focus on the crisis in maternal health care.
Over 50% of births are C-sections.
The crisis for schools.
Hoy estoy aquí porque no es normal estudiar con hambre.
The crisis on immigration policy.
In Puerto Rico, ICE has arrested hundreds of Dominican and other immigrants.
It's a rhetorical tapestry on that side. The unity comes in the form of a closing line.
Esas son mis palabras y que viva un Puerto Rico libre.
¡Que viva! Puerto Rico libre.
Gracias y que viva Puerto Rico libre.
¡Viva Puerto Rico libre!
Que viva Puerto Rico libre.
Que viva Puerto Rico libre.
Que viva!
It soon becomes obvious, however, that the statehood advocates have come with a coordinated message.
Comienzo diciéndoles que Puerto Rico votó.
Puerto Rico votó.
Y la estadidad ganó.
Y la estadidad ganó.
El pueblo eligió la estadidad.
Puerto Rico votó y la estadidad ganó.
Puerto Rico voted and statehood won. They've brought the results of a controversial non-binding referendum vote from November 2024, and they argue that it shows vast support for statehood. I ask Vivian, who's in the blazer, about it.
Y la estadidad ganó, sí.
Outside in the hallway, she explains that yes, they can all say whatever they want, But this year, the statehood group is trying to stick to the talking point about the vote.
Pero claro que sí nos vamos por la línea del plebiscito. Eso sí, que tratemos de no desviarnos de ahí.
Ultimately, they want the committee to recognize statehood as a way to decolonize Puerto Rico and to change the draft resolution to reflect that.
El tratado que han escrito, que lo revisen.
But there's a problem. The vote, like so many votes on status in Puerto Rico, had a lot of issues. The speakers today are presenting it as a clear mandate that almost 60% of Puerto Ricans want statehood. But since the vote wasn't binding, most people weren't rushing to the polls thinking that this was going to truly determine the status of Puerto Rico. Besides, the ballot didn't have every option on it, like keep the status quo. And if the tally includes 180,000 ballots that were left blank, then support for statehood gets less than 50%. In short, the figures are problematic.
As I sit here today, I know we'll continue to hear from those who wish to skew the term of decolonization to fit their agenda.
It's Davina Resto's turn. We heard from her at the start of the episode in the subway.
We call on the UN to reject their lies and do their own research on the actual numbers.
She's done a last-minute edit on her carefully timed speech to respond to the messaging from the pro-statehood advocates. She just barely doesn't make it under 3 minutes.
This is your call to action. We need you in this fight. Thank you.
I thank the petitioner.
She had started the day out ambivalent about being here, but now she definitely wants to come back next year.
It's kind of exciting to get to yell at the statehood folks.
And actually, even though most people see these proceedings as predictable and besieged by protocol, she's coming away having learned something.
This is my first time coming to this, and you just realize, wow, there's so many differences of opinions or what is self-determination for Puerto Rico. And I think that was really just an awakening for me to see, okay, the work is...
As serious as these proceedings are, there's a small ritual that breaks the spell of protocol. In the same way that a parent creeps towards the stage to film their kid in the school play, people get up to record each other speak on smartphones. The whole thing is being live-streamed, so there's an audience at home, too. Some of the petitioners, like Vivian, are getting texts from friends who are watching.
Diciéndose, te estoy viendo en vivo desde la ONU.
Once they've had their turns, several members of the statehood group get up, one by one, and move to the back of the room to sit together. It looks as though they're gathering at the bleachers after practice. At lunch, everyone splits off into their respective groups. There isn't a lot of mingling between the two teams. This isn't a forum to find common ground. But in the hallway, I see Rafael wearing his straw hat, taking a photo with some of the women in the statehood delegation.
They like my hat. They were like, oh, the hat, whatever, and they're just surprised that I would take a picture with them.
So he said, sure, why not be friendly?
Y entonces, nada, tú sabes, están como que, te tomas una foto con nosotros, vamos. Tú sabes, yo, ok, chévere, tú sabes. Pues me tomé una foto con ellos.
After the petitioners speak, it's time to hear from the committee members themselves. Venezuela kicks things off.
Que Venezuela reitera hoy una vez más su pleno apoyo a las y los patriotas puertorriqueños, a su justa causa y a sus legítimas aspiraciones nacionales.
Followed by St. Vincent and the Grenadines.
Moreover, we also renew our full support and solidarity with the people of Puerto Rico in their struggle for the realization of their inalienable right to self-determination.
Cuba, Bolivia, Nicaragua, Iran, and Russia also speak. Colombia and Uganda aren't members of the committee, but they chime in too. There's more going on here than just Puerto Rico. For many of these countries, this is a chance to challenge the U.S. The draft resolution supporting independence gets approved by the Decolonization Committee without a vote and without any changes.
It is so decided. Draft resolution L7 is adopted without a vote. This meeting is adjourned.
Again, there's no sign on this day in June that the General Assembly will weigh in on this resolution. A lot of the people who came to champion Puerto Rico today are ready to come back next year and do it all over again. It felt, after watching the entire day's proceedings, like a futile kind of theater, or perhaps maybe like a circus. But then I met Mirna Pagan.
Nos escuchan, pero no nos oyen.
Mirna Pagan is from Vieques. Today, she spoke about the ties between Puerto Rico and Vietnam and the testing of Agent Orange in Vieques.
War chemicals do not fade away. They mutate in bodies, in DNA, in the soul of nations. As in Vietnam, Vieques and Vietnam share parallel tragedies.
Mirna is someone who takes the long view, which is helpful at a place like the UN. This is her 8th or 9th time coming to speak. It's now a family affair. Her granddaughter spoke today, too, about maternal health care in Vieques.
The first time I was full of the illusion of so many minds working on the same problem of decolonization. I mean, personally, I was so honored to speak for my island. I was truly prepared. I had all my numbers in order. Everything was in order.
She practiced to hit the time limit. Back then, in 2014, it was 9 minutes. But now...
This is a 3-minute presentation. It's just enough to get your motors started, but it also excites you and energizes you and makes you really, truly focus.
Mirna is here for Puerto Rico, but Palestine is on her mind. It's come up several times today. And how could it not? We're at the UN, where reports and resolutions and admonishments didn't bring an end to the genocide, partly due to vetoes from the US.
You have to change. How can you keep killing children? How can you keep bombing hospitals? How can you destroy a whole education system? How can you continue? How can that genocide exist? How can that be? And the United Nations has spoken out. Yes, they have. They have shed tears. They have given it time, but Israel is not listening. Israel is not listening. And the United States is not listening.
And despite the very real sense during today's proceedings that those who need to be listening haven't even shown up, Mirna says it would be a greater failure still not to use any platform that you're given. What else is there to do?
Pero seguiremos viniendo, porque el no venir, el no utilizar un foro tan importante como este, pues sería neglect. And we're here to hope to change things.
If you're given 3 minutes, you take them.
If that's what you can, I'll take 2. I'll take 1. I'll take anything.
And you use them the best way you can. These feel like particularly urgent times, when we're all witnessing misery and often feeling powerless to stop it. And against that backdrop, the setup for these petitioners felt to me not quite as useless as they did before. When it's your turn, your microphone switches on and the room is silent. And for 3 minutes, your words, your grief, and your warnings, and yes, your expertise are entered into the public record. And it is, as Mirna says, a much more dangerous thing to stay away and not use them at all. On the next episode of La Brega, we trace the route to the major leagues and ask, how can Puerto Rico's baseball stars get there without having to leave home? This episode was written by me, Alana Casanova Burgess. It was reported and produced by Ezequiel Rodriguez Andino, senior producer Nicole Rothwell, and by me. It was edited by Maria Garcia and Laura Perez. Original art for this episode is by Pedro Lugo Vázquez. Special thanks this week to José Delgado, Alberto Medina, and Wilma Reverón. Thank you also to Marlon Bishop for the voiceover work, and Jose Ibanez from Monopolio Records for the hospitality. The La Brega team includes Nicole Rothwell, Ezequiel Rodriguez Andino, Laura Perez, Liliana Ruiz, Roxana Aguirre, Maria Garcia, and Marlon Bishop. Our production managers are Jessica Ellis and Victoria Estrada, with support from Francis Poon. And our marketing team includes Anelo Reyes and Luis Luna, with support from Paloma Perez and Jackie Hill. Fact-checking this season is by Laura Moscoso and Tatiana Diaz Ramos. Sound design by Jacob Rosati. Mixing by Stephanie LeBeau, Julia Caruso, Jacob Rosati, and JJ Karubin. Scoring and musical curation by Jacob Rosati and Stephanie LeBeau. Our theme song is by Ife. Original music is by Balloon. Our executive producers are Marlon Bishop and Maria Garcia and me, Alana Casanova Burgess. Legal review by Projorn and clearance counsel by Fisher Legal Arts, Jonathan Fisher. Futuro Media was founded by Maria Hinojosa. La Brega is a production of Futuro Studios. This season of La Brega was made possible by the Mellon Foundation. Check out our website, labregapodcast.org, for transcripts and more information about this episode. Talk to you soon. Bye.